This is Tailgate Talk. Thanks for hanging with us. My name is Sean Ritter. Wags, a.k.a. Paul Wagner, he's out doing something today. So joining the studio, Eric Tasker, our man E.T. So just the two of us are going to hang out with you this morning. Of course, Tailgate Talk, a different kind of outdoor show, more so just sitting around shooting the bull, like you would after, being out hunting or fishing or camping or anything with the family while you share stories. A couple of things I want to talk about on the show today. One thing we haven't talked about at all is food. We all love to eat. We kind of mention things about it, but we're going to talk about some wild game recipes or favorite ways to prepare. We're going to get into a bit of that because, as much as it's about going out and catching or killing or whatever, and getting these resources, then how do you utilize them going forward? So we'll touch on that just a bit. Plus this weekend, a very, very big weekend of the bass fishing world, the Bassmaster Classic taking place today and a wrap up tomorrow. For the first time, not in the spring. And I've got some interesting facts about the Bassmaster Classic we're going to get to as well that I just kind of think we're whoa, I didn't even know about until I was reading about it recently. So we'll get things rolling here this morning. What's new? It's been a while. You haven't been with us for a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, well, things are starting to pick up again, and it's good to be back out on a ton of meetings. And, I try and do this whenever I can, but it just feels like the last couple of weeks it's just always been, this came up.
Right.
Can you do in the morning? And then it's always when we're trying to get together, and it just hasn't been panning out, which is great, obviously. I mean, we want to keep bringing new people on board. And but yeah, so it's been good. And unfortunately, I have not been fishing a lot. I've been playing a lot of golf, which, all of a sudden it's just, so many people have been trying to get me out to do that. And I've always just been this guy that plays 3 rounds in a year. And I've always spent my time out fishing and kayaking and all that stuff. But this year just so happens that there's been a couple people that needed a fourth. And so I've gotten out. And
better as an angler or a golfer?
This
is a conversation that I had a couple of weeks ago with Brian Keller who runs Real Shot and Head Fishing. In fact, we've got that full conversation Brian and I had up on our podcast channel. You can search out Tailgate Talk on the free iHeartRadio app if you want to check that out. But we were discussing that because both of us were saying we're not golfers. I do not golf.
Okay.
It's one of those things I feel like everyone I know is into golf and enjoys golf. It's, this golf outing or we're going golfing or this. And I'm like, I have literally zero interest in golf. It's just not my thing. And Brian and I both came to the agreement. This is why. Because we're both competitive people. And when we do things, we want to be the best. We want to be good.
Of course.
And golf's something we're not good at. So if I'm not good at
it doesn't make it as fun.
It's like basketball. I suck at basketball. There's a reason I don't play basketball, and I'm not really interested in basketball because it's something I'm not good at. I prefer to only do the things that I'm good at.
So I'm good enough at golf that I can go out and I can play a couple rounds a year and be happy and enjoy it and not be frustrated. But see, my problem always is that I can get out, and if I play too much and I start to play worse, it gets really frustrating. So I'm trying to find that happy medium. I'm like a mid-80s golfer, which, I'm totally fine with that. I shot my best ever round at Washington County, shot an 86, but it was the most ideal conditions. Was that a 9? No, that's for 18.
See, I'd be happy with that on 9.
Right.
That's my level of golf.
Yeah, I shot 42, 44, but it was the most ideal conditions. I don't know if anybody listening is familiar with that course, but it's wide open, and it's always, always, always windy. And so, I played golf in high school, and then we would play out there because Slinger was in our conference. That was their home course, and I dreaded that course because it was just so tough to, you get 20-mile-an-hour winds, and then you're hitting clubs 2/3 as far as you think they are. You can't hit a driver straight. You can't do any of that stuff. But I'm a good enough.
This is Tailgate Talk. Golf with Garbedian is after our show. Just so you wanted confusion.
I promise I'll reel it back in here. But yeah, I've gotten out and I've played a lot of golf this year, which has taken away from my time getting out on the water. But we were supposed to go out kayaking on Sunday, and I was going to take my pole with. And my stepdaughter, she got a job. She's working at a restaurant. She wasn't sure how long she was going to work for.
Okay.
We're like, well, we're just going to go out when she gets back. It's like it'll still be 85, 90 degrees at 2 or 3 o'clock. And then she ended up working until 5 o'clock. So we didn't go out. It just wasn't enough time for us to load everything up and get out and whatever. But I have a feeling that my wife is itching to get out. So we're probably going to start hitting the water pretty soon.
Locked, loaded. Tomorrow morning, I will be on Sturgeon Bay.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm heading up. It's smallmouth smash time.
Okay, so we haven't talked since I've seen you gone out a couple times now. So tell me about it. What's your experience with it? How do you feel? Better, worse?
Okay, so fishing. Normally, I think I'm good at it. At this point, I'm just going to settle for proficient. No,
Sure.
I've been out. I went out 2 days over the holiday weekend on Pike Lake. And if you're familiar at all with Pike Lake, it can be a very
Love it.
difficult
That's my neck of
fishery.
the woods. Yeah.
It's a really nice lake. It's a great place, and for me, taking a kayak out, it's a great place to launch a kayak, especially from the park. I mean, you've got such a
so
great,
you go in on the park side,
park.
not by the bar.
No,
and
I'll go in by the
there.
park because I can pull a little roundabout thing and unload and kind of drag right across the grass there. So it's a nice, easy in and out, and I've kind of got the nice beach area to kind of walk out and jump in your
Been
yak
there many
and roll.
times.
That's a tough lake to fish.
Yeah.
I've never had a great day there in a boat. And so doing it in a kayak, those first couple of days, I really took it more of a get to know my kayak. This is a brand new kayak for me.
Sure.
So getting to know the layout, and as I'm trying to figure out how I want things to set up and how I want to lay it out to get out and do some fishing and try out some stuff. So I missed a ton of fish.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm struggling with a hook set in a kayak versus in a boat. Standing is one thing, but all of them were hitting when I was sitting and doing something.
Sure.
I don't typically stand the whole time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm pedal driven, so I have to sit to, drive. I mean, I could
Maneuver
stand
a
up with
little
a
bit.
paddle,
Yeah.
but I prefer to just pedal along and steer and cast and work that way. So I'm still kind of playing things out with that. But yeah, I missed a couple.
So what do you think the issue is with hook sets then? Is it that you're
Just different angle.
Yeah.
I think
you're just not in the same position that you're used to.
Kind of different angle of things, and just flipping a different way, a little bit more slack in the line. It's just a little bit different. So I think I've got it figured out, and I had some monster bluegills that I thought I had hooked up, but I mean they weren't big enough to get the hooks in them.
Sure.
But they grabbed it and they were hanging on hard. But it was just nice to get outside, nice to enjoy it. In fact, I broke down a bunch of it and some other stuff coming to my YouTube channel that talks about that and tips and all that stuff. But that's really what I was using the time for, was to kind of do some research and things for my other project of sorts. But yeah, now I'm like ready to locked and loaded. And
Sure.
The only thing I haven't done, I've got no electronics on it yet. Like I said, I'm going this summer without electronics. I'm going to wait till next year because I kind of am still waiting on what the new product are going to come out with here.
Yeah.
As we get closer to ICAST this summer and into next year. So this winter, I'll be putting stuff on the yak for next year. But
yeah, so I'm the 1 year ahead of you now. So I think we just had like my memory of my famous story of going out and dumping it the first time. And so my wife got me the Garmin fish finder, the smaller one. I think it's the Striker 4. And so I've got to just pick up a battery, and then I'm going to get that installed here. So that'll be interesting. That'll be my first time really ever fishing with a fish finder. And just going out and exploring these lakes, like Pike Lake is a perfect example, where we've been on that lake so many times, but I still don't really know kind of the
a lot of fishing
great
in deep
spots
water
to be there. So
there's the one weed
it'll
bed
be
out
nice
in front of the park. The found some cane beds off over by the other side there by the bar.
Yep.
That, just wasn't productive now, but I think later in the summer will be, especially some of the pads start filling in there. But yeah, like right now it was a lot of deep water stuff, and that's where electronics would have helped me.
Yeah,
was to be able to really kind of side scan or look
just
down
kind of get
and
an
see,
idea of what terrain you're working with. And I thought I drove. I don't know if that was just maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I drove by on 60. I mean, I'm traveling up and down 60 all the time, and I'm always looking out at the lake to see what's out on the water. And there were actually 2 or 3 kayakers that were up in those channels that are right off of 60 there, where the tall grass is that's coming out. I was like, I thought that was all fenced off there, but it must not be. No. There's got to be some sort of access point there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that, but my guess would be pike fishing perhaps after pike or something in there.
Yeah. So, but I have kind of gone along that ridge there, and I just have not fished a ton there. I mean, I've got a couple other spots that I've gone with the kayak to actually fish, and I just haven't been out on Pike Lake enough. But that's so easy for us to get to. That's kind of our home course, since we were talking about golf. But it's just so easy for us to get there. It's 10 minutes maybe. We can load in, load out. We can be out on the water in a matter of 20 minutes. And it's right there for us. So that is always nice.
Yeah, it was. There was a guy that was in a boat fishing around me on Memorial Day when I was out there, and he was crushing some big bluegills, just running slip bobbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I was, flipping artificials, bass fishing. So
Sure.
there was a drastic difference of, if I had some leechers or night crawlers and a bobber, I would have been catching some fish. But, I was doing things a little differently, that day, the wind had picked up. So I was kind of trying to drift across that big weed bed that's out in front of the park and just sight fishing. And so then not worrying about pedaling. So I could stand and let the wind kind of drift me a little bit. And I'd just flip down into holes within the weeds.
Yeah.
Just kind of flip along as I was going there. And then the wind started picking up more and it got a little harder to stand. And I was drifting faster than I wanted to. So that killed that bite for me in the morning. So I kind of gave up a little early. But all right, we don't want to talk too much about that. We got a lot of stuff to get to. I mentioned the Bassmaster Classic is going on right now. A couple of really interesting things about this year's Bassmaster Classic we're going to touch on, and outdoor foods. And I'm not talking about just like throwing things in the grill. I'm talking like foods that you kill or catch and preparing them. There's an Instagram account that I came across that started following me, that Wife of a Hunter Cooks. Sophie May is the lady's name. She's a blogger, says recipes for a hunter's wife. Kind of looked up, she, I guess, used to be like a collegiate or professional soccer player. Married a guy that, hunts, fishes a lot, and she kind of took upon preparing some of the stuff that, he catches and whatnot. This has been an awesome account. She's doing some really, really cool things, even just like replicating things out, like Buc-ee's and their chicken sandwiches or the turkey sandwiches, doing it with wild turkey. Let's see, different like ways of cooking potatoes. She's got all kinds of different like tacos and appetizers, like these quail Southwest egg rolls were a cool looking thing that she did. It's awesome. I know there's a lot of different accounts, people out there that do things. From the Meat Eater, Danielle Pruitt is another great follow.
Yeah.
Danielle's fantastic
So good.
with some stuff she does. But we all love to hunt and fish, I assume, because we also like to eat the things that we catch and kill.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite recipe or thing that you've made or way that you like to prepare any sort of game?
Yeah, so I've got a recipe that we just started doing 2 years ago at deer camp. One of the sites that I've always kind of gone to for a bunch of different recipes, which is a great breakout of like drop downs, for what type of game, dinner, breakfast, sides, whatever. Through the Realtree site, they have the Timber to Table, and I think it's timber2table.com, possibly, not sure, where we can actually select what game you have, how you want to do it, and we found a really good recipe that I think they call them like the venison shotgun shells or something like that, where it's venison backstrap. You slice it and you marinate it in Italian dressing. You take an onion and you quarter it, so you kind of have a shell of an onion. You put cream cheese in there, a slice of jalapeno, and then put the backstrap on top of that. So you've kind of got this little sandwich now, and then you wrap that in bacon.
Okay.
Put it on the grill. So good.
Similar to kind of the duck poppers that we used to always do with teal all the time. You take teal breast and, butterfly it out, put a hunk of cream cheese and a jalapeno, roll it up, wrap it in bacon, put it on the grill.
Oh, it's just the best.
Yeah. Teal,
so that's now our thing that we always do. We do that at deer camp at least one or possibly 2 nights.
That's a good one.
Yeah. What's your go-to?
Me being more of the fish guy, I'm still like, I go Southern. I love my blackened fish.
Yeah.
And this is going to be super unpopular opinion as the bass angler that I am. I love a blackened smallmouth.
Yeah.
Every now and then.
I've heard you say that before.
So to me, it's just like blackened redfish.
Yeah.
And I love blackened redfish or redfish pontchartrain. I'm really a big kind of, that Southern Cajun Creole. That's kind of my wheelhouse of things a lot of times, or, any kind of Caribbean type preparation of things. But yeah, that's a big favorite of mine, or using any sort of like flakier fish like that into soups or stews.
Sure.
One that my wife got into that I did for her this past fall was salmon patties. She's really like fish cakes, fish patties.
Yeah.
Is take salmon, she's got a gluten intolerance, so making gluten-free, using a gluten-free bread, soaking it up with some milk, adding it with some onions, some bell pepper, and obviously the flaked out
stuff.
Cooked salmon. What I'll do is I'll make a big batch of them, and I'll kind of sear them off in the pan and just start to cook them.
Yeah.
And then I'll throw them in the freezer and freeze them.
And then
as
you
they
can
are
pull
whole,
them out.
and then pull them out, vacuum seal them in like packages
Yep.
of 2 cakes per, and then freeze. So anytime she wants fish cakes, she can pull them out and have her gluten-free salmon cakes.
Yeah. That's great.
So I think I've posted that recipe on my site or somewhere. Or I swear I posted it somewhere.
I'm sure it's out there.
I think my Instagram, I even shared the thing about the salmon cakes. But
yeah.
That's a great way. And what we were doing with that was we were doing whole salmon fillets. And when it comes to salmon, trout, anything, the collar is like the best. So the collar would be the part that's up against the gill plate. So everything from the collar to about halfway through the fish is best. Tails, to me, are garbage.
Sure.
So like when you're going to a grocery store and they've got like the, wild caught, whatever, the pre-frozen, hunks of cuts of everything. My wife knows to like sort through and like ignore tails. Tails are like, I'm not even touching tails.
She knows now.
We had tail pieces, and that's what I'll do with tail pieces. They work great for doing cakes and things like that because the lateral line or that brown fat that's on them, that's the stuff that gives fish like a fishier taste.
Sure.
It's like salmon, things like that. If you skin them and get rid of that brown fat, there isn't any of that, which is whitefish. Another fish that's common. People say they're greasy or they're fishy. It's because people haven't skun them or gotten rid of that brown fat. The brown fat is what gives off that fishier taste, and there's more of it in the tail section because it runs along the lateral line in the fish. So tails are garbage to me unless you're going to use them to make some sort of fish cakes.
Yeah, that's interesting. My wife has always been kind of anti-salmon because it is a very strong tasting fish. I've been meaning to make this recipe. I had it was a bunch of years ago, but it was a brown sugar and a dry mustard rub, and you put that on the salmon, and then you can either grill it or you can bake it. And it was homemade, so it wasn't like it was prepped at a restaurant or anything. And I did it at home, and it was the best salmon that I had ever had. It's kind of an interesting mix, but it's something kind of similar to what a lot of the different seasonings are. Sometimes you get the sweet in there, but I thought it was the best ever, and I've been meaning to make that. I just don't know if she's going to be adventurous enough to try it.
Here's one as we're getting into salmon season here on the Great Lakes. If you're, either someone that fishes Lake Michigan or getting out on a charter and ending up with a bunch of salmon, this is so easy, so delicious. It might sound gross, but just hang with me on this one. So you take your salmon and cut it off into your smaller chunks, whatever, for each person. Lay it out on a paper bag, like a brown paper bag you get from a grocery store. Now cut around the fish. So the fish is still it has to be skin and scales on that paper bag. Put a little salt and pepper on just the outside, and then put the brown paper bag on your grill. And you let it cook for a while. The paper will, start to curl, whatever, maybe, sear a little bit on the outside. Just before it's about done, you take ranch dressing and cover the top of the fish in ranch dressing and put the cover on the grill and kind of move it away from the heat. Okay. The cover on the grill. That ranch dressing almost like hardens on there in some way. Here's the paper bag trick that's with it, is then when you want to take them off, you take your spatula, get it right between the flesh and the skin, and it peels right off. The skin sticks to the paper bag.
Of course, yeah.
You get a perfect, clean fillet right off. The ranch dressing goes amazing. It sounds weird. I get where it could be like ranch dressing and salmon gross.
I mean, but ranch dressing with anything is probably all right. So.
I'm telling you, try that with salmon. Do the ranch dressing, that paper bag with the skin trick.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't stick to your grill.
Yeah.
So you're not worrying about skin sticking to the grill. And then, it's like a perfect clean fillet. You don't have to worry about pulling skin off on the plate.
Yeah.
You just literally just slice it, and eat your fish right off the plate without having to worry about the mess of that.
And that's got to be from like the oils in the skin then. That they like attach to the bag and then that separates. And the oils. It's always interesting when you see people filleting fish though, how easy that is to actually separate the meat from the skin. And I think people outside of, the outdoor world or outside of the fishing world, I think they always see that as such a challenge.
Yes.
But you get the right knife and you get a nice filleting knife and you can work through a ton of fish really quick. And it's so much easier than a lot of people think. And I think, as we always talk about, just trying to get people involved with, the outdoors and everything, but you watch a couple videos on it and you're not going to get it perfect the very first time, but if you get out there and you try it a couple times and you got a couple fish that you caught that you brought home, you can get really good at it really quick.
To me, I think electric fillet knives are a big thing.
Yeah.
I think they're almost more difficult to fillet fish
I
than
would
me
think
with just a
so
straight
too.
blade. But then again, I grew up always doing straight blade. I was the person growing up that got into the process from day one.
Yeah.
To as I got older, and by older, I think by the time I was 8 or something, I don't think my dad ever cleaned fish. I always cleaned all the fish.
Sure.
But I've got some of my fondest memories of being a kid were the days going out schmelting. When smelt were a thing, we'd go out in the creeks and, catch all the smelt, and then we're getting home. I'd fall asleep in the backseat of the car, and Dad would drive home, and I'd woke up and I'm home, and then we'd sit around the kitchen table, and it was with a pair of scissors, snip the head, snip the belly, and pull the guts and, clean it, sitting around for an hour cleaning smelt or, white bass or what. I remember doing that so much as a kid that filleting fish I actually enjoy it. The weird thing to say.
Yeah.
But back to the salmon thing I was saying, you were mentioning the oils. The oils are what prevent the paper bag from igniting too and burning up.
Okay.
So the skin sticks to that because of the oils and the moisture.
Yeah.
And that keeps the brown paper bag from completely burning up, and that allows it's a brilliant trick and technique. I wanted to make sure to share that here. So there, we got a couple of recipes out of the way, some things you can check out. Again, if you want to find out more on any of this, or I'll share some of these Instagrams, just follow us. I'm at On Air Ritter. Eric is at ET5504?
That's it.
Yeah, right in the middle.
I think I'm going to have to make that recipe and post that picture because they look really good when they're done.
Yeah, it's awesome. So if you got a favorite recipe you want to share with us, at On the Tailgate is our Instagram and our Twitter. You want to hit us there. We're going to continue more next, talking about the big event this weekend going on in Fort Worth, Texas, Bassmaster Classic in June. What? The biggest weekend in bass fishing in June. Talking about the Bassmaster Classic. This is the first time the Bassmaster Classic has ever been held in summer. It's always a spring event. And I was talking to someone just this week, Eric, and was saying that I feel so weird that we're mentioning Bassmaster Classic now. It's always the first event. Like, you always have the Bassmaster Classic, and then the Elite Series kicks off.
Yeah.
Lake Ray Roberts, Fort Worth, Texas, is where this is. Actually, Lake Ray Roberts is about an hour drive south of Fort Worth, Texas. So I was reading up on this, kind of interesting. When you think about summertime and the water temperatures, transporting fish an hour, like, that just seems like we're not doing this. I mean, it's only 50 anglers in it, but I thought it was smart that the bass officials came in, and they're actually going to have the weigh-in at the lake. So, I mean, the whole part, and they actually have like the weigh-in, the pomp and circumstance part of it at the big convention center, the arena in Lake Ray Roberts. But I'm not talking, they're not weighing the fish there. They're actually going to weigh them at the lake. The anglers won't know what they are, but the anglers will only be allowed to transport their two largest fish in their live wells that will be all temperature controlled. They're going to check them before they go for the hour drive, check them as soon as they get there to try and keep things to save the fish, that they'll be able to show off their two biggest in the arena instead of all five. And then they'll unveil their full weight when they get there. They have to have the whole pomp and circumstance in with the Bassmaster.
That's all part
Classic.
of it, so they don't want to miss out on that.
I thought that was smart that they're doing that to try and help cut on it. So the other, 3 of every bag of every angler is going immediately transported and, right back into the lake. So, couple facts about the Bassmaster Classic that I found out and thought were kind of interesting. So first off, the name of it, it's always been sort of named this, but back when it originated, it was the Bassmasters Classic. 3 separate words, Bassmasters Classic. Well, then when they became associated with the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, it changed to the BASS Masters Classic. Still Bassmasters Classic. And then recently now, it's just called the Bassmaster Classic. And that was at 2001. It kind of made that change. Just became Bassmaster Classic.
Because it used to be B.A.S.
That's, Bass Angler Sportsman Society.
Right.
The whole organization puts it on. Back in the mid-1980s, when media covered the Bassmaster Classic, like now, like you can literally watch it live on TV. Like you
really in any outlet.
Like if they signed last year during COVID because it was going on. ESPN was looking for content. ESPN started covering it, which was amazing and opened up the world to live bass fishing. I've been watching the live streams on Bassmaster.com for years, and they, were kind of doing it before anybody else. Now, literally this morning, right now, don't do it now, but after our show, you can flip on Fox. You can flip on your Fox affiliate, like the big Fox.
Right.
They're carrying live bass fishing of the Bassmaster Classic right now. Tomorrow morning, it'll be on FS1 from 7 a.m. to 11.
I figured that would be the outlet for it.
You can stroll anytime on the Bassmaster website, Bassmaster.com. They have a live stream going there. But back in the 80s, members of the outdoor media were paired with pros. So that's how we're allowed to cover it. So if you and I wanted to go as media, the Bassmaster Classic, we'd be paired with a pro on their boat. You were allowed to fish. And they actually had cash prizes for the press anglers who caught the biggest bass. That sounds awesome.
Isn't that great, though?
Why did they ever do away with this?
I know.
You have, it's almost like the pro and, amateur type thing going out of the Bassmaster Classic. Would be brilliant.
That's so great.
I'm like, oh man, I wish we could do that.
Wow. I was in with my dentist. This is kind of like a similar story about just a random way that they did a tournament. And he was saying that when he used to be really closely affiliated with a couple different guys that were in like the Milwaukee area that did these pro-am style tournaments. And the day before the tournament happened up north, it was also a golf outing. And it's weird that we started this and now we're coming back to this. But
again, I'll remind you, Golf with Garbedians after our program.
After ours. But short story, they played 18 holes, and then there was a pond on the 18th green that you could fish for 10 minutes. And every inch of fish that you caught was a stroke off of your total score.
Oh my! I love it. Okay, now you found a way to get me into golf.
Isn't that amazing?
I could be the worst golfer in the world.
I just thought that was the
find a way to
best
catch
ever.
Up.
So you've got a guy that plays golf, my dentist, and you've got a pro fisherman, and they're out in a twosome, and then they go out, and then they are able to play their 18 holes, and then they actually do their fishing afterwards.
Every
so
golf
they get
course
10
would be
minutes.
that. I'd start golfing if every golf course did that. You put a pond that I can fish and take strokes off. I will come golf.
You know how many times I think about, I bet there's nice fish in that pond on a golf course. They've got to have nice fish in there.
That's a whole thing. Like,
no
that's
pressure.
That's a whole trend of like people sneaking onto golf courses
trying to get on.
fish.
Yeah, I see that quite a bit on, online with whatever outlet. But yeah, I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I would love that.
Talk about some of the anglers that have won the Bassmaster Classic in the past. This I thought was interesting, but I guess I could see it. Denny Brower, Woo Daves, Brian Kerschel, Mike Iaconelli, and Skeet Reese, and actually Jay Ellis did it too. What do they all have in common? Well, obviously they all are Bassmaster Classic champions. They've all won it before. Mm-hmm. But they've also finished dead last the next year.
Isn't that something how that happens?
Worst to worst. 2017 when Gerald Swindle won Angler of the Year for the Bassmaster Elites, he finished last in the Bassmaster Classic that year. Because the Classic doesn't count towards your, Elite Angler of the Year. So he went out, started his season, finished dead last in the Classic, then went on to win Angler of the Year. And I remember that year when he won it because the last event, the Angler of the Year event, was up on Sturgeon Bay. And he didn't even need to fish it. He had already locked up Angler of the Year, but still went up and fished and won his Angler of the Year in Sturgeon Bay that year.
It just goes to show that not every day is going to be a good day, or not every lake that you fish is going to be hot for you, and you might not find the right spots, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out the next day. In
fact, I also remember about that 2017 Angler of the Year event on Sturgeon Bay. It was the most non-Sturgeon Bay event ever. It was tough fishing. It wasn't monster smallmouth. They were spread out. They were hard to get on. It was not what I'm used to up there, and I'm hoping for tomorrow because I'm due for a smallmouth smackdown. It's been a few years.
I like that. A smallmouth smackdown. I like that.
I've put some work. I mean, that was, again, kind of one of the closest bodies of water to me growing up in Green Bay. Spent a lot of time up in the door, in and around between Sturgeon Bay, Sand Bay, Riley's Bay, and Little Sturgeon Bay. In fact, my personal best, my biggest smallmouth, was a 6-pounder out of Little Sturgeon Bay.
Nice. It's a good-sized fish.
That's a tournament
But it
winner
fought
right
like
there.
hell, too.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. That fish actually, if I could do it over again today, I caught that when I was probably 19. I would not have had it mounted. I've done a replica. I did actually have that mounted. So that 6-pounder is sitting in the wall of my parents' house still.
Yeah.
I've got proof of the 6-pounder. It was a beast. It was a lot of fun.
When did that trend of replicas really take off?
It's kind of always been a thing.
I hear about it so much now. I follow like the Facebook page that's like the Southeastern Wisconsin Fishing or whatever. I see a lot of guys saying that now, that they're putting fish back, they're taking all the measurements, they're taking enough pictures of it, and they're just finding taxidermy places that will do the replicas for them.
I think it's become as conservationist, and as conservation has taken more of a...
Yeah.
And we've seen more. And also, think about old fish mounts that you've seen. They start to look like crap after a while. They start to look ratty, like actual fish skin. It never holds up the same. A replica is just a painting, and really what makes a mount look good is the artistry in the painting. So to me, a taxidermist, that's an amazing... Taxidermists are artists.
Yeah.
Especially those that do fish and multiple species of fish. You've got to really be good at the nuances of how to paint these fish, and a replica is that. So to me, it's just easier. Saltwater have always been replica. Replicas have been huge in the saltwater world for years and years and years. It's just taken freshwater a while to catch on.
Yeah.
Muskies is the only place I think where freshwater replicas have kind of always been a thing, just with the prestige of the
Sure.
whole muskie anglers and not keeping muskie, and they're always released, and that could be another day, another topic, another show.
Yeah.
Of, kind of how I feel about that situation.
Remind me to show you this picture of this muskie that my buddy caught this weekend. 51 inches,
Legal fish.
40 pounds.
Oh my God, that is
It's the biggest muskie he's ever caught,
I
and
can't
he's
fathom
caught
that.
a lot of muskies.
I cannot fathom a 40-pound muskie.
I think he said it was 25 or 26 inches around.
That's just sick. That's just sick. I mean, my biggest was 42 up in Canada. That's the biggest muskie that I didn't get a weight on it, but it was hefty. I mean, I might say 15 to 20 pounds, maybe 15, probably closer to the 15.
Is that the one at the beginning of your YouTube page? In the net?
Yep. I think that's the one.
That's bleeped out. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best part of the intro.
Fish, man. That was a beast. And that was the year when we were up there and we caught a couple of muskies. The trend that we got into, so the guy that was like our guide, but I mean, up there he was a new guide. I was just kind of running the lake. He was basically just driving the boat with us.
Sure.
He was a guy from British Columbia. So he'd always been like this fly fishing guide type person.
Sure.
Like, oh, we're going to do some muskie fish. We're going up. So we decided to kind of get this like fancy fly fishing thing, and we got in the water with every fish. So that was it. Like every muskie we hooked, even if we hooked in the boat, we'd get up shallow, beach it, and get out and finish the fight in the water. So the fish never, the whole keep them wet. The fish never left the water. We handled the whole fight. Everything was right there. That was such a cool experience.
That's
I'm like,
cool.
I want that to be my thing all the time now. When I'm up, fishing with the crew at Ballards and up there in Canada. Anytime hooking muskies, I want to get in the water with them because it's just something to be at the same level with them. Even if you still net the fish, that it's like right there at your feet the whole time, and that live release of standing there with them. It's such a cool thing. That's cool. But
now
we're talking about muskies, and we're talking about the Bassmaster Classic. But this weekend it's going on. We'll see who is going to come out victorious of the Super Bowl of bass fishing. I kind of like this moving things around with, doing the Bassmaster Classic in summertime. I know last year with COVID, when they had the first, tournaments canceled, they pushed those into the fall.
Yeah.
Fishing Symbols Lake in the fall. I thought that made it interesting too. So I got a feeling that they're learning some things of what happened last year and maybe starting to kind of shake things up and moving some things around. Because it was always traditional. Start with the Bassmaster Classic in March. You fish the lakes in the south until mid-July. Then you start coming up north and you're fishing, Lake Erie or the Waddington, or you're fishing Sturgeon Bay, the Mississippi River. You do all the northern stuff in, June and August, and then season's over. You have like one angle of everything. Mille Lacs, Sinclair, some other ones to fish. It'd be nice, I think, to kind of switch it around, maybe do some of the northern lakes maybe in the spring too. Move those earlier because it gets
because it's always been where the water is it like 50, 55 degrees, like 50 to 55 degrees. That's when they really start to come into shallow water and start spawning, right?
I'm guessing
right around there.
I've planned it here this weekend. They should be starting to set up on beds.
Okay.
I'm not going to be targeting just specifically bedding fish. I like when they're just starting to set up on beds, when they haven't actually made the bed and they're not laying eggs yet. Like just before that, I love to kind of search them out. They've been pre-spawned for the last couple of weeks. They've been
we've had such hot weather weather where the water is just getting beat by these 90+ degree days.
Shocking though, in Lake Michigan and around Sturgeon Bay, it's been cold water temperatures and low water.
That's so crazy.
That's kind of had things in a weird shuffle. So
yeah, which is always part of the mystery of trying to time that right to fish at the appropriate times. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get out. And if I catch fish, I catch fish. And if I don't, it's still a good day out on the water. So.
2 baits I'll be throwing this weekend. Guarantee you will see me throwing 2 baits. One of them, my favorite. Throwing that swim jig. I'll be throwing a swim jig, and I'll be throwing a drop shot.
Yeah.
Those are the 2. Pitch and drop shots in and around just outside of bedding areas. That's what we're doing. Drop shotting and pitching the swim jig. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll have some more to share and talk about that. I mentioned before we talk about cooking some stuff. If I get that like perfect just 14, I may be blackening one smallmouth. So people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you can do it as a bass fisherman."
Yeah, whatever. Who cares if it tastes good?
There's millions of smallmouth in that body of water. Me taking one of them, is not going to be a problem with that. The people that are transporting around to the tournaments this weekend, banging around, and not taking care of that's going to be worse for the smallmouth than me taking one of them to take home and do a nice little black and smallmouth on.
Yeah. So my question for you is, do you have your first fish in the kayak? Did you land one?
No, technically I didn't. No.
Technically, no.
No,
okay.
I lost boat side, so I've not actually got one in the kayak yet.
Yeah. It's so different, because you have to have a little bit of that balance in play.
I've landed them in kayaks before, but not in my new.
Not my in your own, that you just got. My first one that I got was on Beaver Lake. I caught a nice 16-inch largemouth. And I don't know if you've ever been on Beaver Lake in Shaniqua, but it is the most beautiful lake because it is so clean and is so clear, and you can see the fish swimming around in there. So you can kind of target them just from sight. And it was fun to do that. I mean, because it's different, but I can only imagine. I know your goal is to get a muskie in your kayak. It'll pull you around a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be moving. So it's just a matter of, just getting used to that and, kind of getting the feel for, reeling on both sides and moving it around and getting it into the right position to get it out of the water.
Yeah. While I'm in Sturgeon Bay, I'm sure I'll hook into a pike or two this weekend. So I'll, and who knows, maybe I will get a muskie up there. There's plenty of big muskies that are taken up there. Yeah, exactly. And that would, as much as I'm always I'm never that lucky, I also feel like that would be my luck is I say this is my goal and stupidly it's going to be out of the way then. I'm well, what do I do now?
I'd love that for you.
It'd be great, but I think it's gonna be a smallmouth. I have a feeling it's gonna be a smallmouth. I've been already sitting down. Like I said, I'm not doing it with electronics this year, so I'm going mapping. I've got Navionics on my phone. The Navionics Plus thing. So I've got waypoints all set. I know that body of water and that whole area up there from growing up. So I've just got some kind of stuff I'm gonna go back to. I was building out my plan and figuring out. Okay, it takes me this long to get. That's really cool, by the way. Not affiliated with Navionics in any way, but their app is awesome that you can set up on your phone and you can do your waypoints through it and set your ways, and you can actually set the settings of your boat of how big it is, what it drafts, and this and that. So it'll figure out how long it takes you to get from point A to point. I figure me, my normal pedaling speed, I tripped it out. It was between 3 to 4 miles per hour. If I'm just leisurely kind of pedaling along. So I figure, it's a 26-minute run from here to there, 12 to here. So
you can plan a lot of that out, and if you want to fish in certain areas at a certain time of the day.
That's the difference about kayak fishing versus fishing in a boat, of why I've been so attracted to kayak angling and why this is kind of my new thing to take on the competitiveness I've done in boats and in bass boats and all. I like the having to be much more in tune with your planning and focused on smaller areas and picking things apart, and I like the challenge of that. If I suck at it, I suck at it. But again, it's okay to suck and fail. Yeah. You try something. You got to try something.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's all about just getting out there and experiencing different things.
Absolutely. So that's where we're wrapping up this week. If you check out the Bassmaster Classic, enjoy it. Let us know what you think, who you're rooting for, whatever. At On the Tailgate on our socials, or at ET5504 is Tasker. I'm at On Air Ritter. Next week, same time, same place. Hopefully have Wags back with us and some stories about what in the heck he's doing this morning. This is Tailgate Talk.